the steps we expect from you when you are on the mobility program and at the end of the mobility, after the completion of the mobility program, because at the time will not be all together anymore. You'll be at different universities. That's why usually we prepare you for all the important steps that you will have to take then at this stage. So just as the last time, we'll share I'll share the screen to show you the site. And as always, redirect you to the site because we have all the information there, so that when you, just a second, this one, yeah. So I remind you that, again, if you want to check what kind of what kind of steps you have to take at this point, you can always go to our international office site. You go to the outgoing mobility section, and we are still at the stage of being before mobility, and so you click on before the mobility button, I guess. What do you do at this point? Hopefully you have already completed your individual plans and academic plans, and you have gathered all your the full package of documents that you need for us, so that we could issue an order for you to become an official mobility student. And so at this point, you are at the stage of preparing for departure. So today we'll be talking about visas, accommodation, flight tickets, insurance, and packing. So speaking about the visa, the thing is that the invitations that you get from your host universities might contain like different directions, and the visa types and resident permits might be different depending on the country and on the partner university. So it will all be coordinated by the partner university. So at this point, you have to be closely in contact with your coordinators, and you should already know what you need in terms of documents for applying for a visa. So check the document requirements necessary for your type of visa. Make sure that the expiry dates of your passport meet the requirements for your type of visa, because if your passport ends before the end of your sojourn, of your staying in your host university, that might be a problem. Well, actually, in this case, probably you will not even be issued a visa. And make sure to arrange an appointment at the consulate or embassy beforehand. Because sometimes it takes some time. We know that a lot of countries today are closed for the tourists, but they're open for students. So you can actually have your visa process, but just make sure to arrange an appointment so that you would have enough time to have your visa done. The second thing that you have to be looking at and that you have to keep in mind is the question of accommodation. Now, the thing is that different universities provide different kinds of accommodation, and some universities do not provide any. So that's again something that you have to check with your university. In case the university provides dorms, you should be, we would encourage you to check it out quickly and to reserve the rooms, because usually they are quite scarce, and it's not that easy to get a room there. The other option is to rent a flat, and some universities also have special platforms. Usually you can get access to those platforms once you have been accepted as a mobility student, and you have your personal account as an exchange student. These platforms may help you to find cheaper flats, and sometimes also have access to special like university housing facilities. So for this, also like look at at your university websites, and you can also like inquire your coordinators, your partner universities about that. The next issue is flight tickets. Nowadays, especially, we know that flight tickets are cheaper if you buy them if they are non-refund. But today, with the COVID situation, I think that it will be much safer to buy slightly more expensive ticket, but so that it would be refundable, because things are changing, and well, we never know. Also before, well, many big cities have several airports. Well, in most cases, the flights that we have go to like they land at the planes land at the same airport. But if you can choose at the airport, make sure that you check the university, the dorm, or the apartment that you will be renting before going, before actually arriving to the city, because you might have some internet problems there. So just, it's always better to plan your full itinerary from the airport to your residence beforehand, so that you would know exactly what kind of shuttle you take, what kind of bus, or if you take a taxi from the airport. And you would have your address with you, maybe, like in your phone, and or maybe even, printed out. The next issue is the insurance. Actually, you absolutely you have to have an insurance that would cover the full period of your stay in the country of your host university, including the day of your departure. And the thing is that there are several options with some universities sometimes provide good insurance packages. And in this case, you can, for example, take a shorter insurance here and then get an insurance in the country of your partner university, but also that has to be you have to find out how you will do that before you're going there, right? You have to take a decision. You have to inquire your partner university if they provide a visa, or actually you can always look for people who have already visited those countries, who have been on exchange programs in those countries, and who have some experience in that. They can also help you figure out which approach is better. But I just remind you that the insurance is absolutely necessary, and it's actually part of our agreement with the universities. The last thing about preparation is your packing. Well, obviously, since you're going in the spring, you probably would need to take 2 sets of clothing. And we would recommend that you check the climate and the weather in the country, because, for example, if you go to Italy and you think that it is a warm country, and you come in February, you will find out that it's pretty cold and the heating is not always that good, and you actually might need like really warm clothing. But then the weather will be changing, and so you will need something also, because you go from February till June, and in some universities July. So have like 2 sets of clothing at least. I mean, like for different seasons. Another thing is that it's very important to have in mind that medications are very different in different countries. And even though you might think that the Russian pills that you're used to taking when you have a headache or when you have a stomach bug, even though they sound like they're foreign, there is a great chance that you will not find them there. That's for one thing. And the other thing is that we have much more medications that go without prescription. So it might be a good idea just to collect a nice medical kit, for yourself, thinking about like the typical issues that everybody might have, like a headache, or like I said, a stomach bug or whatever, or even scratches or whatever, and especially if you have some health issues, because if you run out of your medication in this country, first of all, like I said, you might not find an equivalent easily, but also you might need to go to a doctor to get a prescription for that, and that's usually expensive because insurances do not cover that, and so that might be quite a costly thing to do. Another thing is find out about the types of plugs and sockets in the host country and buy an adapter. But also you can do that in the country. Maybe it might be easier, but have that in mind as well. As a kind of an extra recommendation, just, you might think of taking some pictures or small things that remind you of your family, friends, and your hometown, because you might be going through a culture shock, and it is something that creeps on you unexpectedly. Sometimes it comes like out of nowhere. And actually, at this point, sometimes it's really nice to be grounded, into something that's familiar, and that's will bring you some good memories and help you to get back to normal. Then you might want to ask the host university what extra documents you need to bring with you, because sometimes you might need some, I don't know, extra like certificates or whatever. And make sure that you find out the most important contacts in your city where you will be residing. That is the embassy or consulate of Russia, and the host university coordinator details. And of course, obviously, our contacts, right? Because we will be always there for you. And if you're in trouble, it's important that we know about it, because we are also responsible for you. So have in mind that you need to have our contacts, and it's just as important as the contacts of the embassy. One more thing that we have mentioned already is that if at this point you decide to cancel your mobility, you absolutely have to write about it to us, that is the international office, to your host university coordinator, and to the study office, because we said it the previous time, like a week ago, that when the order for you is issued, you're no longer seen as a GSB student. So nobody's expecting you here. You are not, you don't have a spot in the class. And you will be kind of lost in between the universities, countries, and so on. So if you come, for example, the 10th of January, or if you try to connect to an MS Teams class, nobody will expect you there. So make sure to, if you decide to change your mind, make sure the first thing to do is to prevent us about it. You have here the dates. I mean, for us, it's the 1st of December as the final date. But I do remind you again that we have different dates for different semesters, but in case of a decision that you are taking about your mobility program, the 1st December is valid for everyone. Because even if your mobility semester, I mean, host university semester starts later on, like in February or in March or April, it does not change that for us. The spring semester starts in January, so we would need to know if you have decided not to go. We would need to know that before the 1st of December, so that you would have this spot in HSE on the 10th of January. Okay, so at this point, I would like to ask my colleagues, Ekaterina, Alona, maybe something that I haven't mentioned, or maybe you would have some questions about what we have talked about, because that's just the first part. I'll move in a minute, I'll move on to the steps that you will have to take when you are on the mobility program. So right now, any questions that you have about your preparation for departure, and any comments that Ekaterina, Alona would have about that? Ekaterina?
Yes. Thank you. I would like to add that sometimes when you apply for your visa, well, not sometimes, actually, most of the cases, you will be required to provide with all the other documents an agreement between HC University and your host university, an exchange agreement that actually proves that the universities can exchange students. So at this point, perhaps you don't know where to find such an agreement. Well, to get it, you need to contact us, the International Office of the Graduate School of Business. And sometimes, while other types of documents also might be needed, like, let's say, confirmation that you're actually enrolled in HSC University, or I don't know, if you're applying for your visa later, if let's say your semester begins in sometime like around April, so you will have time for that. So if let's say by that time you know that you're nominated for a scholarship from the GSB, and you need to prove your financial status for your visa, you might request such a certificate from us, and we will issue it for you and confirm that you're actually nominated for such a scholarship. So you will have this sort of funding. I don't know, did I miss something?
I just wanted to add as well about the confirmation of your English language, because I have received a few requests for such a document. If that's needed for a visa, or if you're still in the process for your application, we do this confirmation as well. So we do the confirmation that you have been nominated to an exchange program. That should be sufficient. And then we confirm that you have enough English language level as well, so you can study in the host country. And regarding your packing and preparation stage, you might as well email us, the international office, if you would like to chat with those students who already finished their exchange program in this university or in this country, so they can give you advice in terms of what's the weather like in there, what kind of clothes you should pack, because it's much better to ask someone and be prepared rather than pack a whole suitcase of things that you will never wear, or maybe forget an adapter, or well, so in any case, we're here. We will be available even when you are on exchange program until you finish your exchange and actually go back to Russia. You may text us at any time. We will answer your questions.
I would also like to add here about accommodation. So please make sure that you book your accommodation very well in advance. If, let's say, host university sends out an email saying that their dormitories or student housing, the places there are very limited and it's very competitive, please make sure that you book your room at this very moment when you receive such an email. Because we have had cases when students just couldn't find accommodation because they didn't book their room well at the moment when their university told them to do so. Sometimes an hour or 2 hours may actually be crucial, so please do not waste your time. Do not think that, okay, I got this email today in the morning and I will think about it in the evening. Sometimes, seriously, 1 hour might decide everything. So please be ready to go and book your accommodation straight away when you receive news from your home, from your host university.
Okay. So guys, maybe you would have any questions about this part? Anyone? Any questions? Okay. Well, then we'll move on to the next part. And that is during mobility, right? So again, we go back to outgoing mobility and we click on during mobility. When you arrive to the country of your host university, what you need is to have the certificate of attendance completed, the form completed at the international office, and email a scan or photo of this document to our mail, which by this time we're very well already, right? So you need to do that within 10 days of your arrival. The thing is that if you don't do that, we don't know where you are, right? And like I said already, that we are responsible for you, so that's absolutely vital for us to know that you have arrived safely and that you are engaged in your program. So please, this is absolutely vital, right? Also, another thing is we get back again to the individual study plan. We've talked about it so much, but I guess hopefully that's the last time then when you will have to, that you might have to edit it, because when you arrive, you might find out actually that some of the courses have changed, that some are not provided anymore, and maybe actually, we mentioned that already, that when you have been designing your individual study plan, you weren't sure that the catalog, the course list from your host university were final. We said that's okay, because that's the final time for you to actually bring in any changes to the individual study plan when you arrive there, and when you negotiate with your coordinator at the international office of your host university, the final version of the study plan that actually shows the actual courses, disciplines that you will be taking. So during the first few weeks of your study and of your being in the country, the list can be changed. That make sure that you send us the revised individual study plan no later than 3 weeks after your mobility begins. I mean, within 3 weeks, definitely you will already have a finalized plan. Okay, so those are the two very important documents that we need from you after you have arrived. Now, if no changes are made, if actually the plan that you have signed, that you had your academic director and the manager of the study office sign while you were here, if this plan is valid and you see that the courses are the same, then you don't need to make any changes and you don't need to send it to us, right? Like we're like happy with it. So you need to do that just in case there are any changes to it. And the next thing that you will have to, that we will ask you to do, is to represent the university, HSE University, specifically the Graduate School of Business at the host university. That's one thing. And today we'll comment shortly on some of the presentations that you have already sent us. There are some great presentations. And we thought that maybe, showing them to you would inspire the ones who haven't started working on them yet. So what we definitely want is to make a presentation to your fellow students. Maybe you can initiate some kind of event, or if there is a student fair, you can volunteer to show this presentation there. That's very, very important to us, because if you do that, we'll have more international students coming from the host universities in Moscow. And the other thing that's very important is that you would help us also to promote mobility at the Graduate School of Business by creating some interesting materials about your stay there. So making a video diary, starting an international project, sending postcards. We definitely ask all the students who receive a scholarship to do that for us, but we'll very appreciate if all of you share with us your photos, the photos of the university, of you and your friends at the host university, of you studying and doing projects and defending some thesis at this university. That's very valuable for us. So that's, as you see, it's kind of a two-way program. You promote HSC to the students of the host university, and you promote your universities, your host universities, to the HSC students. And before we go to the next point, that is what you have to do at the end of the mobility, like I said, I wanted to show you some of the best presentations that we have received so far. So here we have a presentation by Elizaveta Komarova, right? As you see here, that's like a really nice title page that actually states that Elizaveta represents the Graduate School of Business of HSC. And that's something that's important, because we noticed that some of you actually present not the Graduate School of Business, but HSC. And we want you to talk about both the big school, HSC, with its prestige, with its brand that's already quite has quite a good recognition, but Graduate School of Business, something new, but really starting very well. So it's important for us that you actually mention that you are not just from HEC, but from the Graduate School of HEC Graduate School of Business. And thank you to Elizaveta that she posted such a nice, actually such a nice picture of the building, which is in itself very interesting because it's an 1834. It's a textile factory from 1834, so it's a historical building that is like beautifully renovated, and that's something actually to mention, to say. Nice signature. Then you see Elizaveta starts with the rankings of the school, which are quite good and also quite recognizable, and good rankings. Then the history of the school, nice as well, with actually the point where the Graduate School of Business is established. Then the main departments. Some of you mentioned all the programs, but maybe, since we have right now 18 of them, that might be too much. While this, like stating the main department, is helpful because it shows the main areas of expertise of the Graduate School of Business, and the kinds of disciplines the students might expect to study here, and also the kind of mentorship that they will get from the professors from this department. So that's really like well done, and also very nice because it's very visual. Then Elizabeth heard us very well about the idea of actually promoting Moscow as a beautiful city as well. And so you have here modern Moscow that's people are not very used to. Then the classical Moscow, the Kremlin and the cathedral and the Red Square, and also the metro, obviously. So I think that's a very nice selection of pictures. Yeah, here it is. Some words about Moscow, beautiful modern city. I mean, as a teacher of presentations, I would say that's a very nice presentation, very visual and very easy, very audience friendly. Student life, you have different pictures of what's happening. Well, maybe that might be like on different slides because that's kind of a bit crammed, I'd say. But the idea is very clear. And the personal touch, great. I think I love that. I mean, I think that's great because I'm also a member of student organization, which means that you can ask questions. You can inquire about, what it's like to be a student of the Graduate School of Business. Okay, so very nice and very friendly. Well, another one that I thought was quite good is Arina Sorokina. Also, you see it's the Graduate School of Business again. The only thing is that here I would, nice picture also, but I would recommend to be more, towards like bullet points, because whenever you have too much text on the slide, it's kind of hard to read. So the bullet points are better. But otherwise, the pictures, actually, there are like a lot of interiors of the school, which is nice because, I mean, I think that our interiors are really beautiful. So that's like about just leafing through it, right? And as to student life, looks nice. I mean, I'd like to be there. That's for sure. So that's actually to say that, we have already received very nice presentations from you guys. Thank you for that. And we just expect, the rest of the group to be sending us pictures. And I for sure would say that if I were a foreign student and if I saw these presentations, I'd feel like trying and coming to Moscow and joining the exchange program here. Maybe again about this part, anything to add from Yekaterina, Alona, or any questions from the students? Yekaterina?
like to add that here we're asking you to make a video diary, but for those of you who will end up getting GSB scholarships, this will be mandatory. So I would recommend you start filming pretty much everything, perhaps since the day of your arrival, maybe since the day of your departure from Moscow, or whatever it is that you're traveling from, to put it into a nice video because, I don't know if you've been following us this much and if you've been watching all the videos that we've been posting from our students, but lately they all have become kind of the same when students just sit in their rooms and they're telling about their experiences in the university. This is very nice to see them and to hear what they have to say, but it would have been nicer to actually see what it's like to be in the city where students are currently in, to see their dorms or perhaps to see, I don't know, some tiny glimpses of I don't know, their universities, the culture or something like that. So think about it from this perspective. What would you want to see when you were just, I don't know, thinking about of applying for this program? So share something that very, like really, I don't know, caught your attention when you arrived. I mean, it's kind of hard probably doing so if you do not have a habit of filming everything. But if you do so, and if let's say you're very active on Instagram or on TikTok, and you have a tendency to actually go and film everything and to post stories, so perhaps it's a good idea to just save those videos and to compose them into a video that you would be ready to share with us and with the GSP students to actually show to everyone what it's like and how you're actually enjoying your exchange program.
I also wanted to add a few words. First of all, again, for the students who are going to receive a scholarship, the certificate of attendance is a super, super vital document because on the basis of this document, we will be issuing an order in the electronic document system. So we will need this primarily for those students who will receive a scholarship. To add about the videos, I know some of you have very long blogs or vlogs for like 20 or 30 minutes. Well, you might have it planned, but just again, there are so many platforms that even our exchange students have created, and you could add yourself or your friends to those platforms. For example, one of them is a mobility net created by two exchange students actually who were in the university in Vienna. So you might give very specific advice there, and in your video maybe just give briefly main points because not all of the students will manage to have time for half an hour video. It's just we are super interested always in your experience and how you're feeling on your exchange. But then again, please mind that it is very hard and maybe not quite catchy to have a very, very long video. So just maybe highlight the main points. Um, is that it? Yeah. Okay.
May I ask a question? We can hear you now. Like, hello.
Sorry, your microphone is turned off.
Mine?
No, Maria.
Yeah, my microphone. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So now we can go back to the main.
That was a question.
Yeah, the question.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, so you wrote that the students who studies start at March may send you individual study plan at January 20th, but like in HEC University, we start our studies at the beginning of January. So like the question was how to deal with that some subjects I plan to continue studying here in HEC University. Or it wasn't clear.
I'm not sure that I understand the question. I mean, I'll try to explain, but maybe like you'll tell me if I got you wrong, right, or right. Okay, so if your semester starts later, then those two documents, the certificate of attendance and the edited individual study plan, will have to be submitted within 10 days of your arrival, right? So if you arrive in February, it will be 10 days after your arrival in February. If it starts in March, it will be in 10 days after you arrive there in March, right? So these dates will depend on when actually you arrive and you start your semester, right? When it comes to the semester in HSC in January, what I mean is that you you have to take a decision that you're going on a program before the 1st of December. So this does not change whether your semester at your host university starts in January or whether it starts in February or in March. Your decision about studying or not studying, being engaged in the program or not, should be taken before the 1st of December. Because for us, if you do not inform us and you do not go on the mobility program, still you will have to, like if you decide not to go, it means that you will have to start at HEC at the Graduate School of Business on the 10th of January. You see? So what I'm saying is that those two documents have to be provided depending on when the semester starts at the host university, but we have to know about your decision definitely before the 1st of December. I don't know if I have answered your question or if it was about something else.
No, I can like say it again, like in other words. So there's a possibility to take some courses online through foreign university, like still studying some courses at HSC online. Yeah, I can take some courses online here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so the question was, I need some places to be reserved for me at my home university, so I will be able to study them online, being not at HSC University. But I will not exactly know which exact subjects I will need to be. I will need a place for me before not confirming individual study plan. So, but the date of confirming of that study plan is January 20th. So I need to begin my studies before confirming that plan.
Okay.
If it wasn't still clear, I can send my question late.
You have a very specific question actually that is better asked and discussed with your study office of your program, because there are some universities that actually have a start a bit later, so not in January but in February and in March, and we are aware of that, but we are not the people who will be signing your study plan. So definitely you should discuss this with your academic supervisor and probably the manager of the study office. And you need to do it as soon as possible, because if you're saying that you want to register and do something online, maybe if that is a part of your individual study plan, that must be discussed like this week at least, at the latest. And then again, if those are the additional courses and not the basic courses, maybe they will be included and then you will be able to take them online, but we just don't know if there's any point, because your exchange program does not mean that you will need to take courses both at HSC and at the partner university. There's just one program in any way. So just discuss this with the study office.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to say that the date in February that we set for you is the deadline. That does not mean that you have to do your study plan in February. In fact, if you have these concerns, perhaps it's a good idea to start working on your individual study plan right now, especially if you already know the courses that you want to take at a partner university. We set later deadlines for students in case their host universities have not provided them with a course catalog, with like any information on the courses that are going to be available in the next semester. But if you already have this information, it's in your best interest to actually begin working on your individual study plan as soon as possible. And if you want to take courses during the first module before you're going on exchange, those have to be included in your individual study plan. So it's already mid-November, and I would recommend you think about it right now, as already said.
Okay, then I think, well, anyway, if something's not clear yet, you can just, contact Alona directly, and but otherwise, I think that Yekaterina and Alona both answered your question, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, then like I said, I go back and we go to the third stage, that is completion of mobility, and to what you have to know about it. So what's very important is that when you get back to Moscow, you need to submit to the international office a complete certificate of attendance. And it has to be signed by the coordinator of the host university, and that will give us ground to transfer the credits to our system and to recognize the credits and the grades that you have received at your host university. Also, you will have to submit your transcript of records to your study office. So that your grades and credits would be, so that you would know what credits and what grades you have received. Now, I suggest that, you control the process of this submission of your transcript to the study office, because in many universities, first of all, the transcript comes slightly later than the semester is over in Russia at HSC, and also some of the transcripts sometimes they are sent by mail. So what's very important is that you know that your cumulative grade is calculated on the basis of those. And many of you receive some discounts on the basis of your cumulative grade, so therefore on the basis of the transcript. So do not expect that somebody has that at their heart and that they know that that's so important for you. You are the ones who are kind of responsible for controlling this process, right? It will be sent, but it just might be sent slightly later, or it might just arrive here, a day after the scholarships and the discounts has been taken. So try to be aware of how it's happening and try to be in control of this process. So that's something really important. Maybe here I would give the floor to Ekaterina or Alyona if you have something to add to that.
Is there anyone who's going to study at Chunan University in South Korea?
Yes, I'm going to study there.
Okay, so for you, just the important information, they issue a transcript of records and post it to us in person. So you will not receive an electronic copy until we have a delivery from DHL. So just bear in mind that you will have to mention that to your study office that you will have to wait for your transcript for at least like about a month or so after the program is completed. That is just the way they do things with the transcript of records.
Okay, I'm going to tell them. Thank you.
Okay, good. For other universities, normally they issue the transcript of records electronically, but there is a note to that. You will probably have to write to your coordinator and ask whether you have to download your transcript from your personal cabinet or they will send it to you like a scan or a photo or something or an electronically signed copy. But it's best if you ask them maybe like 2 weeks before you finish the program. Sometimes you need to order your transcript of records. That will take time. So just make sure that at least 2 weeks before before your departure, you will ask this and get your transcript of records. That is all from me.
Okay, just reminding you that that's a very important issue and that we sometimes have issues with our students who do not control this process and who have their transcripts sent to the office later than the dates. It does not mean, I mean, obviously they eventually receive the transcripts and there are no like dire consequences like I mean, no way you'd be expelled, but it's just this issue of the cumulative rating, ranking and of cumulative rate and the ranking and the discounts. So just they might not know about it, and you are the ones who know the dates, so just make sure that you control the process and you know where your transcripts are and when they are being delivered to the study office and to the international office. Okay. So the last thing that we would expect from you after the completion of mobility is sharing your experience and again sending your review with photos and participating in events organized by our office or the international academic programs at the international office. So because it is very important when you have the possibility to share good experience, your good experience, and to motivate the next generation of students to go on the mobility program to say how great it is and how it has, changed your lives. And I guess that is the most important information for today. If you have any questions, that would be a good time to ask them. And maybe there are some questions in the chat. Do we have any questions?
There's a raised hand.
Yes.
Yes, I just realized that I could type as well, but I can ask like this. What happens if you don't pass like some subject or several? Is there some kind of regular procedure for retakes or how's it settled?
Mm-hmm. Ekaterina?
Ideally, these situations were solved with the host university. So it's their courses that we're talking about. So if you fail to pass a certain course, they have receipts. It's just a question of when they take place. And sometimes some receipts are scheduled for, let's say, next semester or for a month or time period when students have already departed from the country. And in this case, we sometimes do organize receipts here at HC. In this case, host universities send us some materials for your exams, like right before the exam takes place. We book a room and then we have someone sitting with you while you work in your exam. But of course, ideally, when you take care of the receipts while you're still there at the host university. I believe that now that most of the studies are like take place online, that the universities have actually come up with some other ideas and procedures of how students can receive their exams, and perhaps you won't even have to be in a room with someone from, let's say, from the international office. And sometimes they just send you to a blackboard, let's say, where they can monitor what happens on your screen and what happens in your room. It's like a proctoring system. So it's really different, and it depends on the university, but such procedures, they do, of course, exist.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Anything else to add from Ekaterina or Alena?
No, nothing for me. If you guys have, I don't know, any comments aside from questions or any ideas you would like to share or like any feedback at all, it's of course welcome. Please feel free to, I don't know, share your thoughts either in the chat or, I don't know, verbally.
Well, okay. In this case, I'd say that we were very clear about our explanations, that you don't need any clarification or any extra details. But I understand that usually when you are preparing for something just as big, as important as a trip that will actually last for like almost 4 months, for some even more. I understand that there will be some issues coming up while while you'll be packing and collecting all the documents and so on. The first instance that I suggest that you consult is actually our site. You saw that all the information is there. And in case you do not find any, you know that you can contact us. Alona is there and always ready to provide information that is lacking. But hopefully with the information on the site, with the video that we have recorded of this session, and your commitment to go there, I think that you will have no problems. So at this point, I think that. Culture shock. Culture shock. Yeah. One thing that we wanted to, well, I kind of touched upon the topic of a culture shock, but we wanted to go into into more depth of the issue. Who knows about about what it is and how it actually affects you when you go abroad? Ekaterina? would you like to mention something? Well, maybe I will just say a few words and then Ekaterina will add to that. Well,
there's Igor who raised his hand.
Yeah. So Igor, yeah.
Well, I just have a small comment that the culture shock is basically when everything is really uncomfortable, I would say, and inconvenient for you in the different country. You know, when you used to do some, routine stuff in one way, but in this country, everyone does it in another way. So basically, I think this is the main part of the culture shock on the exchange program.
Right. Yeah, very well. Yeah, very well described. And one more comment, right? Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Well, I think that was a very good definition. I think what's important to understand, it's something small that starts getting on your nerves at some point. It might be where the doorknobs are and how they're turned, not the way you're used to, how the the form of the bathtub, the place of the windows and the way they get opened, the kind of food you get or you actually do not get in the supermarkets, the little things about how people communicate. Like I used when I mentioned that before, like earlier today, is that it's something that's creeping on you, because it is not something obvious and clear, like a different language. Of course, like we all have problems with a different language, but those are the little things that we would not notice normally, and we would never recognize to ourselves that they are bothering us. The thing is that there are many, and they create a space which is not something that we're used to. At some point, you start reacting in a very emotional way sometimes to that, and you don't know why, because like there is nothing, you cannot really put a finger on it. You cannot say that, oh, that's like for example, I don't know, the color of the walls. I'm not comfortable with that. Like I'm saying, it's usually lots and lots of little things, right? As to how to deal with it, we suggested earlier on, taking some little things from home, like pictures and I don't know, maybe posters, your teddy bear, whatever. Just something that brings you back to your sense of normal self. I mean, because our normal self is what we're used to. That's just it. However, I have to say that there is another thing that is called the reversed culture shock, right? When actually there are certain things that you get used to in a new environment, and when you come back home, you feel like that you're lacking it. And from this point on, you will be always, constantly feeling that. There will be always something that will be better or more comfortable in a particular environment, and you will feel that, oh, I wish I were there. But well, that's part of the game, I guess, and how to deal with it. I don't know, meditate, watch Russian movies or whatever movies you're used to, they might not be Russian. Talk to your friends over, whatever, Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp. And I don't know if you have any more ideas to share. Alena, Ekaterina, or maybe you guys?
Yeah. Well, well, I would like to begin that culture shock is not something that you take seriously until you actually face it. And it's what we were trying to say here is that it's important to actually understand what is going on with you when you start acting weirdly, and like if you have weird and common reactions to things that are like normal and usual, but at some point you just blow up. So this is perhaps culture shock. And it's important to understand that when you just arrive to the country, there is such phase called as, let's say, honeymoon period that lasts for, let's say, 2 weeks to a month, when you're just in love with the country, with the city, with the university, with the people, with culture, pretty much everything. Everything seems exciting and you want to stay there forever and like you love everything and everyone. But then at a certain point, I don't know, like approximately a month, maybe a month and a half, it's different for everyone. But then you start noticing those little things that Marie just mentioned. And let's say it's not just like a form or a shape of something, it's just how you feel about, let's say, studies, about the people that excited you just yesterday and today they annoy you. I don't know, you don't like sharing your like bathroom at a dormitory or something like that. And well, under normal circumstances, you wouldn't react to it like this. So it's important that you understand that, okay, this is the culture shock that I'm dealing with, and how to actually deal with it. I do actually have several recommendations and tips for you guys. Well, first, it's very important to keep in touch with your loved ones. So stay in touch with your family, with your friends. It's very important to stay grounded, to stay connected, to actually understand that you do have life over there that just keeps on going, and well, that you're actually needed there and that you're still like there and you're still a part of it. That will actually help you deal with your like emotional state. Let's say you're struggling with something during your exchange. It also helps to seriously to take some little tiny things that will remind you about your home. This might seem like nothing at this point, but again, when you feel low for whatever reason and you just look at the pictures of your friends, with your family members, of, I don't know, some funny pictures that make you feel good, it will actually help you to deal with your stress. Another thing is try to keep up with your hobbies. If you have some hobbies here in Russia or wherever you live, I don't know, be it sports or, I don't know, like running, swimming, anything, seriously, anything, just try to continue doing that at a place where you're going to live during your exchange. It's very, very important. Try to stay active, and well, if you just, I don't know, if you just try to concentrate on your studies, please remember that it's actually very, very important to maintain your physical activity as well, because it will help you release some sort of stress, and like go for regular walks, things like that, and just perhaps find someone who is in the same situation as you are. Like talk to other exchange students who live there with you in dormitories, or if you rent a flat, just find someone in the university who is also an exchange student. And then you have this Telegram chat that we created for you, where you can also post and like write something to other people who are actually in the same situation as you are, to just discuss what's going on with you guys. Maybe you could, I don't know, think of having a Zoom call with the GSB students to see what you are going through and to just express your, I don't know, mid-semester experiences. Maybe that could be a good idea. Yeah, I think that would be it from me. I don't know, Maria, if you would like to add something.
Thank you, Ekaterina. That was very well presented. I think that the idea actually to share your how you feel with your fellow exchange students is a very good one, because most of them will be going at the same time through the same period, and also they come from very different backgrounds. Still, they might have a very similar reaction in this case. I think that I would warn you at this point against becoming negative about the culture where you're in, because what happens often is that, the exchange students, they are negative about the same things, and they feel like, oh yeah, we have found something, that's bad. But actually it's just this kind of emotional reaction to something that all of you to something that is new for all of you. So try to be objective. Try to say to yourself, we're just all different, and I'm uncomfortable with that just because I'm used to something different. That's it, and that will help you, I guess. Keep positive about the overall experience, and keep positive about the culture that you have lived in and that has hosted you. Well, at this point, I guess that's a good thing to say at the end, because that's actually what we're really hoping for you, is to get this incredible experience, because mostly it will be positive. It will change your lives, and it will stay with you forever. And we are very happy for you. And that's, I guess, at this point, that's it, right? Екатерина?
Yeah.
Alena?
Well, I think everything was pretty much clear, and unless you're in the host country yourself, you wouldn't understand all of the tricky things that they're happening to you. Like, I was doing my program in Ireland, and I remember how I was excited when I could buy Ryanair flight tickets for 15 euros. And I thought that was the best thing about my exchange program. But like, you need to remember that even if you're feeling a bit down, if something has happened, there is counseling in the host country, there is counseling here at HSC University, and there is an international GSB office. Whatever is going on, please don't hesitate to contact us, because we understand that sometimes there are, force majeure situations, and there are things that, you just can't handle. That is absolutely fine, and we just want you to know that you can always withdraw and cancel your mobility if something major happens. I think we can wrap it up here.
Yes. So at this point, if there are no more questions, then guys, we wish you good luck, and we hope to hear from all of you. I mean, first of all, with the documents that we still need from you, and then, from your feedback when you actually arrive to your universities. And that would be it for today. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.